Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Gamers Lunch Break. I am your host, Bryce Whitaker, and today I have a legendary game designer with us. But first, let's talk a little bit about Bang 4th Edition and North America. If you are in North America, Bang is coming your way in the form of organized play this fall. Please tell your store that you want to play in tournaments. There'll be a tournament prize kit. Your stores can contact me, Bryce Whitaker, and find out how to get your prize kit for this fall for Bang Organized Play. All of the tournaments will feed into a special tournament at Gen Con, and it's going to be an exciting time for Bang in North America. I can't wait for these tournaments to begin. So let's go ahead and turn to our guest today, legendary game designer Emiliano Sciarra. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Welcome to the show. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Bryce. That's
Hi.
just correct, Sciarra.
I have trouble. I have trouble rolling my R's, and our producer Sylvia, she's great at it. I suppose all Italians are, but I just cannot roll R's to save my life. But I'm very happy to have you on the show today, and I think the big question for us is, we'll get to the success of Bang, which is crazy how long it's been around and in the public eye, and everybody's been playing it for years. But let's start a little bit with your background and your early game design years. Can you tell us a little bit about your life early on, game designing pre-Bang?
Yes, I was always fascinated by games in general. And I started designing games on my own about when I was maybe 12 years old. I made simple board games for my family. But shortly after, I discovered computers. And it was a first sight love. And I stayed with computers and computer games with maybe 15 years. And so in this period, I made mostly video games. I designed a video game instead of board games. And as a matter of fact, my first published game is a video game, not a board game. It is Chuffy for the Commodore 64. Back in time, maybe 1986.
So this dates you a little bit. Anybody out there who's played on the Commodore 64, please let us know today. We're a couple of old guys that reminisced earlier about playing on the 64. Let us know if you ever played on the 64. So you were an accomplished game designer already in games on computers, and then tell us how Bang comes into existence.
Yeah, the basic idea came when, for the holidays, especially in Italy, it is custom to gather the family together and play the traditional games. But I was a bit bored by the playing same games each year for with the same people, and so tried each year to introduce new games, games that I could find somehow somewhere. In the end, I started to thinking about design a game on my own to play during the holiday time, and that's why I chose the Wild West setting for the game, because if Bang were set in the, for example, science fiction world, there would not be the same. The Wild West setting is known by everyone, especially in Italy, but not only. And when you say, now I have a Winchester and now I can shoot you, and that's another thing, and everyone can understand this, instead of, now I have a blaster and now I can shoot you. That's not the same. If we stick not to the specialized people, to the people who are gamers, but to the general public. So that's the main reason uh, for choosing a Wild West setting. And for the same reason, I choose the game to be very simple, but not trivial, of course, because I wanted to have a lot of interaction. Because I like in games when players talk to the table, they have to have fun because I want to have fun at the table. I'm not a very competitive player. I like a lot the experience of the game and not winning of the game. So I encourage the table talk, and that's also why I introduced the secret rules in the game. So you can bluff and talk a lot to the table. And the Wild West setting helped a lot in this because this kind of background helps player to immerse themselves in a Wild West setting, and there is also a challenge feeling at the table when you talk about Wild West. So
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like this is one of the first kind of um, big hidden role games in tabletop, and the element of bluffing is very thematically the element of the stare down in the old west. I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, we're trying to figure out what each other is going to do. And I think all of those elements come together to make it a fantastic play experience. Now, did you have rules ahead of time? I know sometimes designers have a set of rules and then they sort of find the theme to fit, or they pick a theme and then develop the set of rules. Did this happen one way or another, or sort of a mixture?
actually, I design games mostly starting from the setting.
Okay.
So I actually study the setting. That's what I did with Samurai Sword. I passed more than 2 months studying the Japanese background, uh, to trying to find the right rules which could fit to the background. That's my main um, uh, working method. With Bang, actually, this was the most important one. But actually, at the same time, I was playing Magic the Gathering, and I was trying to figure out how could be possible to balance the game with an odd number of players. And that's where the Renegade role came from. As a matter of fact, in the original prototype of Bang, the Renegade role was present only with an odd number of players. It shows that it came from that original idea that was in my mind. But the rest of the rules came from the background. For example, the duel, and the other cards, uh, they came directly from the Wild West setting.
Yeah, I think it's so much fun is kind of in the play of the cards, the character that you are, which is can be a historical person, but also kind of this tongue-in-cheek, kind of campy version of what's transpiring in the old west. Did you did you even think for a moment when Bang first released that it was going to be this global phenomenon?
Well, I hoped for the best, of course. I knew it could be a quite good success because it seemed a good game because everyone seemed to enjoy it at every level, expert gamers, newbies, and you name it. But of course, thinking that the game would be the top selling game made by an Italian game designer company ever in the world, I could not hope so much. So,
I seem to recall, and I don't remember the exact number, but you told me there was only a few thousand copies of this printed, which were originally supposed to last just for a few months. But then what happened?
Yeah, Bang was the first game made by DV Games. At that time, I was almost nobody in the board games industry, and DV Games was just born. So uh, we could not count on anything on our back. And the starting printing run of Bang was of 2,400 copies, and DV Games planned to sell them in about 3 years. But instead, after less than 2 months, they were sold out. And and at the following Nuremberg Fair, there was a queue of people at the booth of the DV Games asking for the rights to publish Bang in their country. That the first sign that we had maybe in our hands an international success.
Yeah, that's amazing. When you look back on 20 years of this game and how it's just persisted, it's popular every year. It's what we would probably call a perennial game. Um, Gamers have it on their shelf. It's you play it at least a few times a year. Is there anything singular that you can say has led to a success, a game design moment that fans have just told you, or a card, or a player interaction? Is there something in the history of these 20 years that you just remember fans come to you and say this thing over and over again, why they love it? Or is it just a general love?
Well, it's a difficult question to ask because players said mostly that they enjoyed the game everywhere with everyone. And I think that's one of the most important thing regarding the success of Bang, which is regarded often as a gateway game because it can be appreciated both by expert players because it is not a simple game under the strategy point of view, because it is easy to learn how to play Bang, but it's not so easy to learn how to play well Bang
Right. Yeah.
because you have a few cards in your hand, so it is obvious that you must play something among what you have in your hand. The difficult question is how do you play that cards, and
Yeah.
that's the strategy of the game. It is not the mechanic of the game. And so I think that Bang is in this sweet spot where it is quite easy to learn, but it stays interesting even for years. Because the social interaction with the players is something that can be of unfathomable uh, deep. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to me because one of your other loves, for the people out there that may not know, is chess. Right.
yeah,
And chess is both kind of similar and not to Bang, in that it's a similar experience, with easy to learn, hard to master, which I think leads to the idea that it's a perennial game. It's easy to catch on how to play, but it takes a lifetime to master. But it's different because chess doesn't really have interaction between players and this conversation going on and this chance to be kind of step into the old west for a minute and play. And for me, those are two brilliant elements of the game. It's accessible to everybody. You want to master it, but it's also there just to be in the old west. It's such a unique experience for that. I asked this of every game designer. When you go to design, we all as game designers sometimes have a problem where we hit a wall, And I often talk a lot about John Cleese, the famous Monty Python uh, actor, talked about the creative mind. And he would say the open mode is where we play with the ideas of all the rule mechanics or whatever you're doing. And then the closed mode is when you go about your life and you're hit by inspiration. When you face a design problem, do you really attack it and work and work and work it through? Or do you step back and give it a little bit of time and it just kind of pops into your head, the solution?
Well, both of
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
The first approach I have is to work hard on that problem, thinking about it until I could find a solution. But if I don't, then I stop working, and I do not let the night pass on a problem. So I work hard on it, but in the end, I let the problem still unsolved to roam in my mind in the background, doing other things. And fortunately, I have a lot of interests, so I I had no difficulties at all finding something that to do, uh, and that helps a lot. For example, I play music, and it helps actually a lot because the creative mind is something mysterious, and you don't know how the creative links um, are born somehow. Um, but it works,
Yeah.
for me at least.
Yeah, and I think there's this idea you have right brain activity and left brain activity, and music is very creative, but it's also a very kind of right brain organized thing. And I personally find that when you go back to your organized life, it's when the brilliant idea hits. And when you try to work a problem, I had to really teach myself to step away, because it's that transition where you're gonna for me where you're gonna get that idea. And I always love to ask designers that.
Yeah, the when you work hard on a problem, it is your formal mind, your rational mind that is working. It is influenced by your own uh, perception, your own vision, your own prejudice. While if you let the mind work on the background, you let them it free, and so it can roam in uncharted lands of your consciousness.
Sure. Yeah. Uncharted lands. I like that. I like that a lot. So Bang comes out. It's this big hit. Everybody's buying. People are loving it. All the reviews are great. Um, and then you start to work on some other expansions, Dodge City, Armed and Dangerous. We can go through the list. But I'm sure everybody out there watching today wants to know, what are you working on and when is it coming out? So, what could you tell us is the future of Bang?
Well, there are a lot of projects regarding Bang in the work in progress status. The next one will be the Great Train Robbery, which is an expansion which will feature a train with wagons that you can get. And each wagon will give you a long-lasting, overpowered effect. After all, you paid handsomely for it, so it is only a matter of justice that it was strong power with that wagon. And I think within the end of the year it will be available in the stores.
Great.
If all goes well, and these are difficult times, so I cannot say it with certainty. But I could tell you that I'm working on another interesting project with my friend and colleague Silvano Sorrentino. that you probably know because you
Mhm.
have spoken with him in the past.
He's a pretty
And
cool guy.
yeah, 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 sure. Uh, and it's also a very good game designer. Uh, and we are working together with an innovative project about Bang that it is going quite well in the playtesting. And I could say that it will allow to play with one player with Bang.
Wow.
I could not
Solo.
say more, but you could play alone a Bang game. Yeah,
Wow. So I can be I and let's hope it doesn't happen, but another pandemic strikes. I can say, Emiliano, I need Bang the solo game. You'll send me one, and I can just play Bang by myself, and I don't need anybody.
yeah. And additionally, the Bang video game, the Bang Online, is almost ready. So
Yeah.
you could play online with your friends or alone with the Bang board game. So there are open possibilities here.
Yeah, that's great. That's so much fun. Um, you know, the Bang universe has kind of expanded. I had on two of the designers of the dice game a few weeks ago. Great people from Germany, and Americans have really taken to that game as well. And I personally have the dice game, which is sort of my filler for game night. If I just have this 15-20 minute gap I need to fill, and then Bang is reserved for the game nights when you say we're playing Bang. um, but as this universe kind of expands, is it fun to sit back as a game designer and go, "Wow, I've created a universe." How does that feel for you?
Of course, it is very rewarding to know that you made something, the bank system, uh, also which can be used for other games. Um, because one of the greatest reward for a game designer is seeing other people which are playing and enjoying your games. People that you do not know, you not ever know, and so their interest, their enjoyment
Yeah.
is true. Is not something that they are doing for because you are here or they know you and are your friends, of course. And these are to made a world, a system, is the reward of another level, for it, so to speak. Because instead of a single game, you realize you made a, a set of games, a potential set of games. And this is also rewarding from the game design point of view because it shows that the Bang, the basic mechanics of Bang, are quite versatile, and so versatile that can be used for different games with the same core rules, but a lot of variety to allow for several games. And it,
This is kind of the lead in maybe to Samurai Swords, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and how that game is built on a mechanic that is just well known, but different. Everything about the game is a little bit different, which is exciting. Yeah, I love that. I love the ability to take something you create and put it in a space, and it takes up this space, and then this one takes up this space, and before you know it, you have this very imaginative place.
yeah, and it is quite difficult to make this happen with a simple set of rules because it is easy to design a complex game. Uh, uh, Maybe some other game designer already said it. The most difficult thing to do in the game design is to do a simple game, but a simple game does not mean a stupid game. So you are moving on a thin line where you can add complex rules, but the games becomes more complex. So less approachable by casual players, or you are simplifying too much, so the games starting to become uninteresting for expert players. And so to make a system with capable of be the base for several games with a simple set of rules is quite difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, those like I always explain it as you design layers, and you want the first layer to be very simple, and then you add complexity. But you're saying, and this is very important, that at each level there has to be a player interest. If you see them kind of moving out or losing interest, that tells you that this thing might need to be altered or changed to be more exciting or more captivating or more interesting within the game mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Often there are two ways of implementing the game rules in the game. The first and the easiest one is adding rules. But the second, which is the most difficult, is toggling out rules. So, because your initial concept could be too complex for the game, and often it is too complex for the final game. But it is quite hard to realize for the game designer itself, because in your mind the game is quite simple because it is a product of your mind, and it is difficult to see when a rule less is not making the game too simple. It's very difficult, and it's quite a lot of experience to know when it is time to add a rule instead of toggling a rule out.
I think too, is being part of the game design culture is when you when you design something, you start to get a real love of the way it's going, and you get to this point where there's a rule or something you really like, but it's better for the game and the players who haven't played it as much as you and don't understand everything that's going on to take something out. And I think a lot of first time game designers have this mistake. They have a project they love so much, and they have all these little tiny rules that they love, that they fight keeping those rules in, even when it's going to make the game a worse play experience because it's just something they personally love. But maybe the gamer community at large, I think it's the hardest thing to do is to take out something.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. It's one of the most difficult things to do, and but at the same time, one of the most important things to understand.
yeah.
You must not be fall in love with your own ideas.
Yes, yes. That if anybody's listening, that's like game design. You heard it from Emiliano here first. Game designer rule number one: just because
Almost
you
number
love
one.
something
Yeah.
doesn't mean you should keep it. Maria, I saw your comment up there. You said, I love Bang the Duel. It's the first game I ever played. I got to tell you, I love Bang the Duel too. It's a game I can play with my wife. Um, it's two player. We love the Old West. We watch old westerns together, and it always comes down to her taking the outlaws and me taking the good guys, white hat, black hat. It's just the way she likes to be. And we have a blast playing that. And for the folks in North America who may be wondering about the organized play, the finals are decided by Bang the Duel. So you play Bang while there's a whole bunch of people playing in round robin turns, and then the final four play Bang the Duel to decide the winner of the tournament. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
Bank Duel is an interesting game design project because the challenge was to recreate the feel, the look and feel of Bang, but with only two players. And of course, you are losing the roles, the secret roles, the bluffing, and so on. And that's why the Bang the Duel rules and the game is more complex than the basic game, because most of the fun of Bang is in the socialization, in the table talk, as we said before. Uh, these are all things that we are losing in the two players game, or mostly losing. So that's why the game is more articulated. There is a more sophisticated mechanic in Bang Duel,
I
and
love the I love the interplay of you still have characters, but now you're going to play more than one, and then there's a front one and a back one, and you're trying to maneuver your best cowboy forward. And it's a fun problem in the game to figure out where your cowpokes should be.
yeah, and in the basic game, that mechanics would be too much. The game would be too ponderous, too heavy. It would slow down the whole experience. While Bang is a fast-paced game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because we have a family playing Bang. Everybody just wants to play a card and go Bang. And if you have to look up all the rules, that slows down that experience. Where I'm just going to point my finger gun at you and say Bang. But the duel it's to me it's more of a chess match, right? It's figuring out what your abilities are and when to play them. But it still maintains the feel of having a whole team. I think that's why I really like it. If I just was playing one cowpoke in the duel, I might not like it as much. But I like having the whole team together.
The Wild Bunch.
Yeah, the Wild Bunch. Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit. This is something that came up in our pre-interview. You're a Magic the Gathering player. You're a chess player. And after you said those two things, I really expected the next thing to be how competitive you are. But that's not the case, is it? You are you're really into playing for the experience. Is that it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I'm not competitive at all. Even if of course, love chess and I love Magic the Gathering, that it is in a sort of ways, a sort of study actually for a game designer on how using the cards in uh, zillion of modes and ways. But I'm not very competitive. I like the experience of the game. I must have fun at the table. I have to enjoy the socialization, and I'm not so interested in winning, even if I love chess, of course. But that explains why I did not enter tournaments of chess, because I really don't like the the setting, the competitive background, the competitive ambience. I really don't like it. I think for me it lacks something. It lacks the enjoyment of the game.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's interesting because now there are the tournaments of Bang, of course. So
So we're not going to see you sneak into any Italian championships under a name like Silvano Sorrentino and play and just school everybody.
yeah, and the best Bang players are surely better than me uh, on Bang. They could surely beat me on, and they actually did it. Some games we did in the past.
If I had a game like that, I think I would carry around cards, that special promo cards that said "You beat me."
Yeah, that's what that's what the games made at the conventions.
Oh yeah,
Actually, they did it. Yeah, yeah.
that's great. That's great.
But
Sylvia here, our producer, has thrown up some excellent card art. If you have lived under a rock, or maybe you're just a new gamer and you're like, well, what is all this about? This card art is fantastic. Please check out Bang if you haven't done it. It's going to be coming to organized play in North America to your game shops. We're going to celebrate 20 years, 20 years of Bang. And I'm having a hard time thinking of any tabletop game that has lasted 20 years. I would take me a bit to figure that out. This is an extraordinary achievement, and you should feel very proud of yourself, which I know you do. And the Italians love Bang, Americans love Bang, the Germans love Bang. Everybody loves a good Old West story. So before we go, I'd offer you a chance to say anything you want to your fans or our staff in Perugia. Is there anything you wanna shout out or say?
Well, I always thank the staff at the games because they are fantastic people. They really love their job and they always try their best. So I can only thank them for all they did and they are doing for Bang and not only for Bang, for the gaming industry in general. To the players of Bang, I simply say have fun and uh, and beware from the renegade.
That is great. Thank you so much, Emiliano, for being on the show. We're going to end it here. If you have any questions for us, please like and subscribe us on YouTube and Twitch, and ask your questions of us in Discord. Check out our Discord channel. We always love to talk to fans. So thanks. This has been the Gamers Lunch Break, and we'll see you next time. So long.